Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Patreon podcast. I apologize for my voice. I lost it a little bit ago. I'm hoping to get it back pretty soon. So this week, I wanted to talk about the idea of mindfulness. And mindfulness is really one of the core tenets of my creative philosophy. What I mean by this is it's something that should be really kept in mind in all facets of your creative process, if not just your life in general. And mindfulness, in my opinion, is just being aware of what's going on. And that sounds very easy and kind of a duh kind of thing, but it's really important to not get wrapped up in what you're doing to the point where you're not looking at the bigger picture. And I really say that this is something that you should keep in mind for your whole life because, I've dealt with depression in the past and all sorts of other ailments along that line. And I don't really notice depression until it's been with me for several weeks. And it's hard to notice that without being mindful of your mental or physical condition, where if you take a step back and look, it's very obvious, but it's not obvious when you're stuck in the moment. And I think that mindfulness can be translated into creative endeavors as well, where if you're working on something and you're getting kind of stuck in this feedback loop where nothing's really working, but you keep trying, and it just keeps going that way, it's good to take a step back and to experience the project with as fresh of eyes or ears as possible. And hopefully you'll get a new perspective on the thing you're working on. And that's pretty much what I mean by being mindful. It's important to have that perspective that's a little bit distanced from your own personal stake in the project. Being able to invest yourself is great, and being able to throw yourself into a project is great, but it's also really important to be able to look at it from a larger perspective and find things that you personally might love, but they don't work for the project at hand and should probably be cut. But I mean, I think that this idea translates through to everything, and it's really, really important, I feel. One of the most important things that you can do is just to be mindful of what's happening, not only with your creative projects, but with your life, and to be able to react to those things that you notice in a way that is productive instead of, I was going to say recursive, something basically just perpetuating a loop that already exists. But just making sure that you're making the best choices for yourself and for your project. And those kind of status updates are really important. And I've been trying to take a little bit of time every week to do a status update like that, just to be like, okay, so this is how much I worked this week. This is where I'm at. This is kind of how I feel. Is this okay? There's also another really nice app called Daylio, Daylio, which essentially reminds you to make a very, very quick journal entry, basically just logging your mood and your current thoughts. It could be a couple words. I found that to be really helpful for me to just take a step back and realize it's okay, well, things have been a little down lately. What can I do to change that? And I don't want to just focus on mindfulness when it comes to mental health, although that's a really, really important facet of this. I think that mindfulness is just a really important thing to keep in mind in everything. And now I'm just repeating myself, so that kind of means that I'm done with this topic for now. So this is the last Patreon podcast for the year. And I wanted to thank everybody so much for such a wonderful year. and for supporting me and for being a part of this podcast. I wanted to do something like this for a while after I finished the Creative Exploration series, and I'm really glad that I have an output for this kind of stuff now, even if it's just me riffing in my car for 5 minutes once a week. It's still really important to me. So I really hope everybody has a good year, a good 2020. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be great. And thank you so much for supporting this podcast. And thank you so much for supporting the Patreon. And I forgot my outro. And thank you so much for listening. I'll talk to you next year. Whoop, my phone went to sleep. I'll talk to you next year.